Are you struggling to add headers to your post requests in Angular 2? You're not alone. This is a common challenge for many developers, but today we're going to solve it together. I totally get it. It can be really frustrating when you know what you want to do, but the code just doesn't seem to cooperate. You're in the right place to get the answers you need. Let's dive into the specific question at hand. One user asked, how do I add a header to a post request in Angular 2? They want to include a content type and an access token in their request. Sound familiar? Let's break it down. Understanding how to add headers is crucial for making successful API calls. Headers are essential for passing metadata, like content type and authentication tokens, which help the server understand your request. Stay with me, because at the end of this video, I'll share a quick tip that can save you time in the future when working with Angular. To add a header to the post request in Angular, the user should start by importing the necessary modules. This includes the HTTP module, headers, and request options from Angular's HTTP package. Next, the user needs to create an instance of the headers class. This instance will hold the headers that need to be sent with the request. After creating the headers, the user should set up the request options object. This object will include the headers created in the previous step. Now, the user can modify the fetch method to include the request options when making the HTTP request. This ensures the headers are sent along with the request. Finally, the user should test the implementation by calling the fetch method in the component and checking if the headers are correctly sent with the request. Fun fact, did you know that the first web request ever made was in 1990? It was a simple request for a document, but look how far we've come since then. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach provided by a user suggests adding headers to your post request in Angular 2. First, create a new headers object with the content type set to applications JSON. Then, append your access token to the headers. Finally, use request options to include these headers in your post request. That's it for that answer. Let's take a look at another one. An alternative approach shared by a user involves using the HTTP headers class to set headers for your request. You can create a new instance of HTTP headers and use the set method to add your headers, like content type and access token. If you're working with Angular 2, you can also use the headers class. Create a new instance, append your headers, and then use request options to include them in your HTTP request. Here's that quick tip I promised. Always double-check your headers and ensure they match what the API expects. This can save you a lot of debugging time. And there you have it. You now know how to add headers to your post requests in Angular 2. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks. Happy coding!